Hi, Senator Obama. I am Kristen Larson, a school teacher. I'm here with my teacher colleagues and fellows from the Northern Virginia Writing Project.
Hey, guys.
We're just wondering what positive impact writing has had on your life and what words of inspiration you have for young writers.
Oh, that's a great question.
So,
That's a new one. That's a new one. Well, as some of you know, I've written 2 books. I actually wrote them myself. I can't claim that I now write all of my own speeches, but the important ones, like my convention speech in 2004, or my announcement speech, those are speeches that I wrote. And I learned how to write, first of all, by reading. And so I don't need to tell this audience how important it is for us to make sure that we're reading to our children and sparking their imagination. And I know people are busy, and I know they don't have time, but can I just say this without bragging? Over the course of the last 4 years, I made time to read all of the Harry Potter books out loud to my daughters, Malia. Even when I started running for president, you can find some time to read to your kids if you decide that it's important. You can find time to read to your kids if you think it's important. And by the way, that's some of the most special time that you have with your kids. I mean, when they want to talk to you about a character or a plot line, it's just a wonderful way to connect. So that's how I learned to write, was by reading and reading good writers. And then I started keeping a journal when I got to college, and that was important, not just in terms of teaching me how to write, but teaching me how to think, because it forced you to ask questions of yourself, and it forced you to try to figure out how to reconcile different attitudes, how to process different experiences, how to give voice to your opinions in a coherent way, and so by the time I wrote the book, I actually had I think a better sense of where my life had been, why I was doing what I was doing. So it was extraordinarily rewarding. And just as a practical matter in terms of getting a job, knowing how to write is a good thing. Even, I know these days the kids, they all know how to text message, with using you for you and all these symbols I don't understand. But when you are applying for a job, you will not be asked if you can text message. They'll be asking you if you can write a letter or a memorandum and communicate in proper English with others. So, something that we should emphasize in our schools. All right, I've got time for one more.
Lives. It seems that No Child Left Behind has trapped us into mistaking accountability and testing for learning and teaching. We certainly don't want any children to be left behind, but what can you do to help put the emphasis where it belongs in a way that respects the profession of teaching and puts the teachers focused on student learning instead of constantly focusing on these high-stakes tests?
Well, in some ways you answered your own question. The aspirations behind No Child Left Behind were sound. We want good teachers in every classroom. We want to make sure that every child is achieving their full potential. And we need high standards. We are in a competitive world. And our kids here in Fairfax, you're not just competing against kids in California or in North Carolina, you're competing against kids in Beijing and Bangalore. And so we've got to significantly improve our education system for all children. That's how we're going to create a competitive workforce. That's how we maintain a functioning democracy that questions our leadership and can analyze the issues. But the way to do that, as you pointed out, is not just by applying a single high-stakes standardized test. What has happened is, first of all, the test comes sort of in the middle of the year. So it's not measuring progress, it's not measuring where the kids are at when they start and where they end, so that it's providing a useful tool for the teacher. And because it doesn't take into account where the child starts, a school can be doing a terrific job in maybe the kid catches up 2 grade levels, but is still somewhat behind, and that school can still be labeled a failure. And so it has led to, as you know, counterproductive behavior. Teachers teaching to the test, administrators having to make tough choices and saying, well, maybe we won't provide PE, maybe we won't provide art, maybe we won't provide music because that's not what's being tested. And that, I don't think, is going to inspire teachers, and it doesn't inspire students. So we're going to change this philosophy. There are ways of measuring progress and high standards in the schools that don't rely just on a single high-stakes standardized test. It doesn't mean that our kids can't take a standardized test once in a while. It just means that that has to be supplemented with peer review and a whole host of other things worked through in cooperation with educators in the classroom. Because if you don't have buy-in from the people who are being measured and judged, then it's not going to be successful over the long term. Now, in addition, though, it's not just enough for us to change No Child Left Behind. Being against No Child Left Behind is not an education policy. We've got to go beyond that. So we've got to invest in early childhood education to close the achievement gap. We've got to pay our teachers higher salaries. We've got to give teachers more professional support and more professional development that actually works. Giving them more time for lesson plans. Giving them more, if we've got a math teacher who's an excellent math teacher, we want to make sure or a great science teacher, we want to make sure that they have the opportunity to continue their studies and to get even better at what they do. And if we've got a master teacher, we should pay that master teacher to mentor young apprentice teachers so that they have a career path to making more money in the system without getting out of the classroom. There are a whole bunch of things that we can do, and I've said we're going to devote billions of additional dollars to schools that are willing to innovate and aren't satisfied with the status quo in order to improve our schools. Last point I would make, when our kids do succeed and they get out of high school, they're going to need to go to college. It may not be 4 years, it may be 2, it may be that they go to a community college first, work for a while, go back to get a degree, to retrain. The problem is right now, and I'm sure a lot of parents in here know this as well as students, it's expensive. It's expensive. It's going up faster than healthcare. And that's why I've said we're going to put forward a $4,000 tuition credit every student, every year, which will mean community college will basically be free. And a public college or university tuition, about 2/3 of it will be covered. But young people will have to give something back in return. Community service or national service, either while they're in school or when they get out. Work in a homeless shelter, work in a veterans home, join the Peace Corps, join the Foreign Service. We'll invest in you, you invest in America. Together we'll march the country forward. All right. can do that. All right. All right, this young lady, she's had her hand up for quite some time.